Hi, and welcome to B2B R&D Conversations. I'm Ellen Williams, CEO and co-founder of B2B R&D, and joined by my co-host, co-founder, and COO, Craig Yaris. And how are you today, Craig?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm pretty good today, too. I'm actually really excited about our topic, which is going to be a tongue twister for me today, but I'll do my best to get through it. It's influencer marketing.
Don't think
And
about it. Just do it.
okay, we'll give it a shot that way because it's going to come up a few more times. And the first thing I want to do, and we'll bat this around, is really define what that means. So over the course of the last week, we've poked around the internet to see what people really think influencer marketing is. And we found a variety of different things. So the first being the celebrity. And let's define celebrity quickly here, but we'll get into it a little further, as sort of a sports figure, a TV personality, a movie star, someone that has the general population celebrity status. And then there are industry influencers. So those are people at the top of their game in an industry, and they're notably there. So Seth Godin being someone who would be recognizable, and certainly someone who passed recently, Wayne Dyer, would be an influencer in the industry of self-help. So things of that nature, even though they did public speaking as well, they're a different sort of celebrity kind of status, I suspect. And then there are the influencers that have the ear of your audience. So when you understand who you're trying to reach, you'll find predominantly bloggers or journalists potentially who really attract the type of people you're trying to attract. So we have, a wide definition of influencer. And so chime in, Craig, with some of your thoughts on that.
The definitions hold perfectly, and the question really comes down to which of those are going to best help your business.
Exactly.
Do you want celebrity influencers? Do you want industry influencers? Or is it really just the audience influencers that you should be concentrating on and working with or towards? I think that's the question every business needs to ask. And I really believe the first celebrity influencers, the sports figures, the stars, I just don't see that as being a beneficial use of time, energy, and dollars for businesses. Research, and I believe the statistic is 92% of people don't trust marketing, advertising, and celebrity influencers. They trust the audience influencers. So why even make an effort with these people? And how trustworthy are they? Because they're talking about your product because you paid them to talk about your product.
So if we take that and run with it, we're going to find that isn't that what commercials are? I mean, if you think back to Michael Jordan and the Air Jordans,
Yep.
right? There was money being exchanged there. So the influencer being a celebrity, as we stated in our email, may be more of an attention getter. I can't remember who it was, but the really old commercial where the football player hands the kid the Coke.
Yep.
Right. So those kinds of things where it's assumed in the general public, well, they drink it, I should drink it. Well, this is what happens when I use this they use this product, it'll happen to me if I use the product, that kind of thing. So you've had celebrity influencers or paid speakers or spokesperson, for years, and now that's moving on to something in the digital world that may be maybe a little less transparent. So if it's a tweet from someone, we don't see them, and maybe we believe them more because it's in text and it's not so obvious they're being bought. So the celebrity definitely is one of those things that'll, I think, help people stand up and take notice of a business, but whether or not it turns into an actual new customer I think is a long stretch. Like trust is important, and that happens over time.
I completely agree. And my concern with these celebrity endorsements, if you will, is it was, and we talked about this in our weekly email this week. You have people being paid to endorse a product. Oprah was the example we used. She was talking about how much she loved her Microsoft Surface tablet, and she tweeted it from an iPad.
Right.
How trustworthy are these things? Yes. Does Microsoft really, first of all, need Oprah to talk about their product? Does Samsung really need Ellen DeGeneres to do this big selfie image with all of these celebrities that they put out there from an iPhone? They don't need it. Smaller businesses could benefit from that celebrity saying, hey, have you heard of X? We certainly would love Sean Connery to say, hey, I get a B2B R&D email every week. It's great. It's not going to sell.
So I'm gonna interrupt you. Nice choice, by the way, Sean Connery.
I thought so.
But the question there is, would it matter to the people we're trying to reach if Sean Connery said that? There's a definite coolness factor, but is that the right audience? Is he going to bring in the right audience? So there's that element of greatest. We've got that stand up and take notice. But if it doesn't even make sense, like you said, does Microsoft really need Oprah? Especially, and I've sort of been, because Oprah's sort of dropped out of the mainstream as much as she was. I have no idea how involved she was with technology. I mean, there are some talk show hosts that are extremely involved with technology. Take Jimmy Fallon, right? He uses technology all the time. That would make more sense than just getting some name that he doesn't even have. The Air Jordan made sense because he wears sneakers and he's, selling sneakers. But moving away from the celebrity, because as you said, small businesses, unless it's a true, authentic, a celebrity stumbles on your product and loves it, Oprah's favorite things, right? That kind of thing. Or Tori Johnson on Good Morning America, making the deals to businesses that could be smaller, right?
But that makes sense.
An influencer marketing campaign really needs to focus, I think, on making sure you're reaching the right audience, because that's where the influence is going to come in, but there's still the follow-up and the development of the relationship that's going to lead to a conversion.
I completely agree. These celebrities are not leading to conversions necessarily. Yes, they may. I can't account for people doing what certain celebrities say they should do. I believe I recently talked about influencer marketing, I guess, to the negative. There is I think it was a member of the band One Direction had tweeted out to his fans to not go to SeaWorld. And SeaWorld's actually seen a reduction in attendance. So, influencer marketing could work both ways in that regard, celebrities. But again, I've never...
The responsibility of your celebrity. I mean, we can go back. I mean, the one that comes to my mind is Rosie O'Donnell, and she had power as a celebrity and sort of brought her own personal views to light when she realized that she had that kind of power.
Sure.
And it actually eventually, I think, tarnished her celebrity reputation.
Yes.
Because she did that, as well as, at least started a conversation and potentially made people defensive about things. So that didn't go the way she wanted, but we're back to that sort of celebrity status. So if we get can we get away from celebrities to like bloggers and things like that? If I'm reading their blog and everyone I'm trying to reach is reading someone's blog, how do I get them to notice me in order to get that ball rolling, really, to start the attention getting mode so I can take it and develop that relationship.
And I think that's a more reachable goal for almost everybody, especially today with Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and Blab now. We really have access to I'll call them the real influencers, the ones that can really move a needle. And in my mind, they're both the industry influencers and the audience influencers. So I could start a relationship, a conversation with an audience, with an industry influencer. You definitely have that ability as long as you're not going in it with the, hey, buy my product. I have a great product, buy my product.
Right?
It's a conversation. It's a learning about each other, because industry influencers are big, small, huge, and no name. Just because nobody's heard of them doesn't mean they're not an industry influencer. And I think the conversations are much easier to happen and much more likely to result in a benefit because it's people within your audience. And then you talk about...
Not only are they real influencers, they're reachable influencers. Because they're on the ground level, especially of all the tools you just talked about. The live streaming tools, sort of everyone's there playing with it, utilizing it, figuring it all out. So it sort of leveled the playing field in one way, because all of a sudden those that weren't reachable are.
Right.
And social media did a lot of that too.
And that's Twitter. I know Twitter is one of your favorite tools. And I think Twitter coming on the scene and these big people jumping on Twitter allowed us access to them. You can tweet anybody, and you're probably going to get a response. I'd say it's a 95% chance, and you've now just started a conversation with somebody you could never pick up the phone and talk to.
Right, or send email, or get past, the guardian at the phone.
Right.
They're all the barriers to reaching those influencers were definitely brought down with social media, and now even more with real streaming, because it's not just a tweet and waiting for, or any other social media post and waiting for a response, which, depending on who they are, could take more time than you would want. The live streaming is live.
Right.
You at the table at Blab, you're part of the conversation, and even if you're not at the table, you're on the sidelines still communicating.
Yes.
So that you're absolutely right. There's power in these new tools to be a bigger part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Now, talk about the audience influencers a little bit, and we didn't define that specifically, but I'm going to define it, and you can take issue if necessary. It's basically your customers. Your audience influencers are your current customers, or people who see the value in your product, even if they're not using it, and have the ear of people that they know, like, and trust. So going to a networking event and meeting somebody, oh my God, I get your email, it's amazing, it saves me time. We don't have to do anything. They're influencing the audience. When people send us information that, and I believe the quote that is, I can't not have my B2B R&D email. Yes, I know it's English.
Awesome.
Yeah, right, but that's not us. That's them. That's the audience influencer, because they have clients. They have friends in the industry. They're real world people. And those audience influencers, I think, are the most important aspect of any business.
That's a really interesting take on it. It definitely, I think, is outside of most people's definition of influencer marketing, because I think regardless of who the influencer is, as we defined earlier, the concept there is the one-to-many.
Right.
And you've just taken it to the many-to-many, or even the many-to-one.
Right.
If one of your customers, if one of your X number of customers influences just one more customer, you have, an influencer. Interesting. So word of mouth could be construed as influence or influence. influencer marketing. That thing we're talking about.
I actually, to me, and this may be a small way to look at it, but to me, it's those audience influencers that are the most powerful. They're the ones who are screaming your names from the rooftops to people who are listening. Yes, like I said, it'd be great if Sean Connery talked about us. And I don't know why Sean Connery comes to mind. It may be,
okay.
it may be the accent. I wouldn't mind hearing it in the accent.
Yeah, right.
But even if we get somebody like Seth Godin talking about us, you mentioned Seth Godin, he's an industry influencer, and yes, we would love that. But again, is that going to move the needle as much as our actual users saying, this is what you need to buy? If you go to a restaurant and you have an amazing meal and you post it to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, you're influencing a large potential audience that trusts you. They like you. Wow, Ellen went to that restaurant. You know what? I'm going. I mean...
Right back to what you said to at the beginning. It's trust. So it's how much trust that influencer has. So are they really influencing, or are they just, the look at me, which has its place in marketing. Right. If you can attract attention and then additional campaigns take that new person through the process of education about your product to the point where they're ready to buy, then great.
Right.
And you can chalk that to the acquisition of that potential customer being through an influencer. But in the end, it is trust, and very, very interesting take that you're really your best influencer is your happy customer or your best friend that'll talk about you and with people who trust their opinions.
Well, you and I were talking yesterday. It takes between 7 and 10 touches to get a new customer. And that's touches by the business. It doesn't take that much if it's a current customer because there's already that relationship between the customer and who he's talking to. You have to keep your audience happy, and they'll do what they believe you deserve. You treat them badly, you will suffer just as much. The audience influencing will go the other way. So I think
right. I'm not going to fix that with a celebrity.
No, you can't. You can't fix a bad product with a celebrity endorsement. You can't. So I think.
All right.
Well, I just one last point. I think for the marketers and the small businesses out there, focus on making people happy with your product, service, and they'll do the job for you. That to me is influencer marketing.
And there you have it. Influencer marketing from Craig Yaris.
You got it.
It's an open topic. It's an ongoing topic. So we want to hear what you have to say about it. Please add your comments below. Shoot us emails at ewilliams@b2brnd.com or Craig Yaris. I'm sorry, C Yaris at b2brnd.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care.